everybody, it is Romania Black, and we have a lot of comments to get to and talk about before we dive into this penultimate episode. Yes, it is episode 12 of Windbreaker, the penultimate episode, and I'm not sad because we are watching season 2, so it's fine. I've already started on the bingo card. I've already started on it. My plan is we are going to watch episode 12 this week. We're going to watch episode 13, a special 13 episode next week. Then we are going to take a quick break, just 1 week break. I've got an extra already planned for that week. We're going to take a quick break, and that way I can get the bingo card out to you all on Patreon and the bingo card out to the YouTube community post. And then when we start season 2, we are going to have our bingo card in every episode. We're going to see if we get a bingo. We're going to see if we get a bingo every episode. I don't know what the prize is if we get a bingo or not. I've not figured that out yet, but I'm working on the bingo card right now, so it will be done by the time we start season 2. I'm definitely confident about that. But we have a lot of comments about episode 9 that I want to dive into before we get into this. But last week we focused on Sugera and Kiryu. We got a lot with their characters. We had a little brawl. It was a fun time. And we still have 2 more episodes. So what are we going to get as we start this new arc going into season 2? Well, we're going to find out. But first, Thea Victoria Martin, for episode 8 said, this episode came out at 1 a.m. on my birthday. Happy belated birthday! Like, by a month at this point. While I was preparing for my thesis defense. Also, month belated congratulations on the thesis defense. Love that. Sleep deprivation who? Honestly, it may have been the best gift I got that day. You are so welcome. Thank you so much. As somebody that has defended a thesis too, that's a lot of work going into that. So you deserve, like, I hope you got a big old slice of cake as soon as that was over, because that's a process. It really is. They also said for episode 9, I highly recommend watching Tiny Hats for Tiny Cats Break Winder season 1 parody after this season in your own time. Their skits and animatics are underrated, hilariously dumb, and goofy as hell. I don't know if I will react to that on the channel, but you did point out watching it in your own time. I will probably do that, but that's really exciting. I did tell people I would go over the OP and ED lyrics after episode 13's over, so we're going to do that next week. I'm going to make myself a reminder about that. But thank you so much for the comments. MKTN for episode 9 says the symbolism of Choji's mental landscape, so to speak, being a desert that turns into glass, gets me every time I rewatch and reread this part of the story. I had not mentally, maybe I talked about it in the discussion. I don't remember because it was episode 9. It was a couple weeks ago. Did I talk about the sand turning into glass? Because if I didn't, that is genius. Genius symbolism, and I'm so glad you pointed that out. The fact that the glass is what you get when you expose sand to intense heat. Or in this case, the pressure that Choji has put himself under is so good. It's so good. Choji is a good representation of a character going through a depressive episode. 1, yes. 2, this series and how it handles symbolism is just so incredible. I love it. So thank you for pointing out that symbolism. That's just so freaking good. Void for episode 9 says, Choji's pretty much the actual first antagonist of the series that really sets the tone for how Windbreaker is written, and I love it so much. Choji is just a depressed kid who wanted to have fun, but only found the title of leader to be hollow, and he didn't have any friends to stand with him. I feel it's a sneak peek into how Sakura is now. He said he wanted to be at the top for the title alone, but he'll have no one if he just does it like Kotoa had said. Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's a really good thing to point out that this battle, the first arc we have in the series, is really emblematic for where Sakura is right now. And he's figuring that out and being like, okay, well, now what do? I thought that I was just going to have to, muscle my way to the top. That's not going to happen. So what am I supposed to do? We'll see. But thank you, Void. I appreciate that. Sim Sebastian for episode 9. We got a couple comments about Umamiya and Choji. Sim Sebastian for episode 9 says, God, Umamiya, my beloved. That man was made in a lab to be perfect, and no one can change my mind about that. Hey, he might have been a Petri dish baby. We don't know. So he could be a lab-made baby. We don't know, but Totally agree. Black Widow Queen for episode 9 says, God, the bite gets me every time I revisit the anime or the manga. You can feel how absolutely desperate Choji was. And the way Umemiya just gently touches his head in response, my God, what a man. Yeah, Umemiya is a tank. Umemiya is basically a Chansey. Umemiya is a Chansey from Pokemon. He just got to whip that egg and give it to Tachibana out of his pouch. That's all he's got to do, right? Oh my God. Alexandra Q for episode 9 says, mostly this episode is beautiful for the complicated, interlaced, and tangled web that is Togami and Choji's love for each other, and how they really enabled the worst of each other in a series of tragic bad decisions. It was giving me very Given flashbacks. If y'all know Given, it's a BL series. Go watch it. Go check it out on my channel. It was giving me BL vibes and Given vibes, definitely. It makes my heart ache, especially on Togami's side, how all he wanted was to make Choji happy, and all he was left with are these pieces of a fractured relationship and trying to pick everything up. Again, go see Given, because that imagery, I was instantly like, oh, I know who I would want to compare that to. Yes. And I truly believe that this is a mess they both played a part into making. Maybe Choji is one of the greatest faults and driving the mess, but Togami was playing his own role by averting his eyes and not confronting him. The visual of Choji seeing Togami hunched over trying to fix the broken pieces gives me chills. Alexander Q also says, I really appreciate the way the show treats everything between Choji and Umemiya. It isn't that Umemiya suddenly fixed Choji, but that he made him open his eyes so Choji could see the reality of what was happening around him. Yep, Umemiya is really good about that, which is going to lead us to a comment down below. We'll get back to Umemiya in a second. Sunspots for episode 9 says, I think this episode is a great example of what can happen when we cannot identify or articulate how we feel, when we don't have the words for it. The focus on internality in Natsume, we're going to talk a little bit about Natsume's Book of Friends, is one of my favorite elements of its writing and the discussion which follows as a result. And I love seeing this kind of approach in Windbreaker as well. There's the way that such a strong focus on the aspects of a voice as a catalyst for one's identity, though. Togami's focus on having or not having a voice, Sakura's determination to not waver from expressing his voice, Choji's literal attempt to bite Ume's voice to make him shut up, is a beautiful construction and progression I cannot deal. No, it's just all the layers of symbolism in this show are just chef's kiss. 1000% chef's kiss. I love them so much. But yeah, I agree. I agree entirely. Natsume's Book of Friends is also great. I feel like that's why this is the spiritual successor to that series, because a lot of the thematic focus in a much more shonen and vibrant, energetic way is the same that we see in Natsume's Book of Friends. And that's why I love this series as well. Algu Malguyum says for episode 9, there's another symbolism I like with Choji's hands. Choji used to be the sun, but now he's not. And the way he was moving his hands in the shattered glass imagery was him trying to feel things out through the dark, looking for something, or for his way back to fun. I had not considered that, Algumalgum, that it was him sifting through the dark now that his sunlight is gone. That's incredible. And that goes along with Sid's comment for episode 9, which says, the bloody hands. At first, it feels like it's bloodied hands from fighting and it's scary, but then it becomes sad when you link it to the broken glass later on and the team he broke with his own hands. The symbolism in this show is so good, and it's not preachy. I freaking love it. It's just, you can just tear apart the layers piece by piece. Sid also says the part where Choji told Togami to smile was very touching. It's a callback to when Choji turned dark, and Togami told Choji that he'll keep doing the skinning and ask Choji to keep smiling instead. It's so good. And finally, I know I've talked so much, Tasto3204 for episode 9 says, this episode kind of makes me want to speculate that Umemiya might not even be the strongest guy in Bofurin. I mean, he is without a doubt strong and would probably easily beat Sakura, Suo, etc. But what about Hiragi and the other 4 kings? Would he win? Maybe not. It'd be really interesting if the reason he's at the top isn't because he's physically the strongest, but because he is objectively the best for that spot. I feel like they made this comment for episode 9, and I told them in my replies, I was like, oh, just wait till you get to the discussions for episodes 10 and 11, because I feel like it's touched upon there. But yeah, I feel like Sakura by the end of episode 11 and episode 10 kind of realized, he was like, oh, being the strongest is not going to get me at the top. being strong and surrounded by those who are also strong and supporting me are going to get me at the top. I'm really excited to meet the other 3 kings. Do I think Hiragi could take Umemiya in a fight? I actually don't. I think Umemiya, and I don't think it's because Hiragi's not strong enough. I feel like Hiragi's stomach issues would come into play, and it would cause him to like have some acid reflux or something in the middle of a fight. I think it's also a matter of conviction. I think that Hiragi could, even if Hiragi could physically take Umemiya in a fight, I think that Hiragi's conviction would waver, whereas Umemiya's conviction is like a third of his strength. It's like he's physically strong, he's a tank, but his conviction and his kindness are like pillars that are unwavering, and that like reinforces his strength even more. So there we go. So thank you so much for the comments. I know I've talked for 10 minutes, but it bears repeating that you all point out so many amazing things that I had not even considered. And so I feel like that's important to bring up in these intros before we get started, in case if we missed anything. But yeah, we need to get to this penultimate episode. And that's exactly what we're about to do. So we've had this whole council meeting to decide who's going to be captain and vice captain of the first years. Let's see what goes down with that. We are going to start our penultimate episode 12 of Windbreaker, and we're going to get this party started here in 3, 2, 1. Let's do it to it. Like I said, I don't think we'll need Whiteboard Goon for this episode, but next week, he's waiting in the wings, ready to come out for the season finale. But instead, we are going to talk about, with some screenshots here to go through here. The only thing I would really need Whiteboard Coon is for the names of the 2 vice captains, because I'm not good with names and there's so many characters in this series. But the descriptor for Crunchyroll does do a good job of letting you know about Ren Kaji, Yudo Kasumi, and Takashi Inomoto. Inomoto is the name that I was like, I got Kasumi, and then I was like, who's the third guy that once like rolls his R's? And that is Inomoto. So we're going to get started talking about this episode. There is some interesting things to talk about with this week. And I was like, oh, why are we surprised? I'm just so hyped for the next episode, y'all. I'm so hyped for episode 13. We're finally seeing the other kings. I need to know them. I need to know names. Whiteboard Coon's so ready. Yes, please. I honestly didn't think we were going to meet them this season. I thought they were just going to build it up and keep them in their little shadowy silhouettes, and we weren't going to actually see what they look like, but we're already getting into it. So yes, thank God. Also, I already feel for all of you who had to wait in between season 1 and season 2. I am so sorry. I'm already dreading the end of season 2. I think it's gonna hit. I think I'll be caught up by May. I think, which it's like my birthday's in May, but the sadness of having Windbreaker end around your birthday, you're like, no. So I'm already dreading it. Not looking forward to that. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Meanwhile, as my dog is determined to have me throw this toy to him. He was very nice during the reaction. But let's go ahead and get started. We are going to get some screen caps to come up here by you. I'm going to try to time it right here in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So let's dive into this episode, and I'll have some screenshots up here as we go. But the depth of this series and how much they show us, like, even the desks that are rearranged, like all the characters, even when they're just silhouettes, it's like you see the whole thing, right? It's great. So they all want Sakura to be their captain. And of course, I kind of everything makes sense because, sometimes in shonen anime, you would be like, well, why would they go along with this decision that doesn't seem to match their characters, or it seems out of character for them to do? In this series, it makes sense. Like Sugera has his virtues, but I like how he ties his virtues into the reason why he would let Sakura be the captain. Because you would think on the surface, you'd be like, well, wouldn't Sugera want to be the captain? Because he has this big outgoing personality. But he establishes that it's because he likes to let his opponents shine. I'm like, oh, that's a very clever writing technique to be like, okay, this is how we're getting around it with it being in character. I'm like, That's a good choice. Good job, mangaka. And then Kiryu's makes total sense. Kiryu and Sugi, those two characters are kind of similar in that they're just like, I'm going to step back and let you take care of this. That's literally their MO. So Kiryu being like, oh, why would I want that responsibility? Oh, no. I also like it because it establishes a difference between Kiryu and Kaji, which at first glance, you would think that Kiryu and Kaji would be kind of similar because they seem like standoffish, aloof characters. But there is a very big fundamental difference between Kaji and Kiryu. Kiryu and Kaji both seem like they come from kind of a rough middle school environment in terms of them having to fight with others or having this pent-up aggression. Kiryu's solution is that they're like, I'm going to take a hands-off approach. I'm happy that I'm in this safe space. I'm not being constantly challenged. I personally, my headcanon is that Kiryu's identity and their self-reflection and possibly their sexuality were called into question in middle school, and that's why they lashed out aggressively. That's just what I think, but the show hasn't confirmed that at all. That's just my headcanon thoughts. And so once Kiryu got into a safe space where they were accepted by everyone else and they could self-express how they wanted to, then they weren't lashing out so much and they were like, oh yeah, I'm here and I'll protect this group of people that accept me and let me into their inner circle, but I'm not gonna like seek out fights anymore. And that's kind of Kiryu's like main like feeling in Bofurin. Whereas Kaji is a lot more like Sakura in that he doesn't really know what he wants to do, but he's found this safe space with people that accept him. And he's like, well, I'm gonna, delegate and figure out what I want to do. But I'm also kind of like more of a go-getter in terms of being a leader than Kiryu. So I'm going to kind of accept this position and do what I can within it. And maybe it also has given Kaji a sense of belonging and a place of worth, which from the flashbacks that we briefly get about him seems like that was something he was contending with. So maybe, because whenever Sakura kind of calls him out and he's like, well, why are you even here? He gets really pissed because he's like, this is the place where I belong. Don't question why I'm here. It's not your business. Like it's interesting to see the differences between them. But I like that this series is establishing character choice and it makes perfect sense. And Sakura is just like, well, I know I did cool things, but is that right for me to be the leader? Also, can we talk about how great Kiryu looks? Kiryu, I mean, with the hair pulled back and the pins is cute, but I love this like just top part pinned up and the rest of it just hangs down. The pink and the green, beautiful color combination, looks amazing. Kiryu's stunning. Let's all praise him. Let's praise them for the diva and beauty that they are. Also, Narai is so cute. I love Narai. Narai would be, there are certain like different organizations that like have, I think of some have historians like an FFA, which I was a part of when I was in high school. FFA is Future Farmers of America. It's a very rural organization. It's exactly what you think it is. But they had different officers. Like I was the reporter when I was there, and the reporter was someone that like did media stuff. We took pictures at events. We basically like cataloged like how everyone did. For an English major, it's the perfect role. But we also had a historian, and a historian was just a very fancy way of saying party planner. And a historian was the party planner. They had to know everybody. They were the social chair. They got the organizational events together. They hooked up the venues. They also helped the reporter keep track of everything. So the historian was very like a low stakes position that didn't seem like it had a lot of responsibility, but they actually did quite a lot. So I feel like Narai is like the reporter / historian for Bofurin, where he is keeping track of who everybody is. He's keeping track of all the intel, like, which is a pretty hard job. Even Suo is like, I couldn't do all of that in the amount of time that you have. Also, if people are like, how could he remember everybody so instantly? One of my really good friends, her dad has a photographic memory. And I kid you not, every person he meets, as soon as he knows their face and their name, he never forgets it. It's kind of wild. Like, we'll be somewhere and we'll be like, who is that? And he's like, oh, that's so-and-so that you met at such and such. And we're like, it's just a photographic memory. Some people have it, and it's like such a crazy good skill. I wish I had that skill. That would be amazing. I'm pretty good with memory, but names and faces, I'm a face person. I remember faces, but I don't remember names, especially if they're all kind of similar. But yeah, Sakura also has the best faces in this episode. He is so bashful. And Tachibana hits it right on the head. She hits it right on the head. She's like, he doesn't want to let people in. And I'm sure we'll find out exactly why as the series goes on. But you can just tell that he has a lot of insecurities about letting people get close to him, probably because of things that have happened to him in his past that we're going to learn about. Also, Sugi, I like that Suo was kind enough and respectful enough to be like, hey, Sugi, you're a fellow classmate. Do you have anything to say about this? And Sugi's like, I am not interested. He's like, I don't want any part of this. He's like, Kiryu, no. So yeah, and then all of the other classmates are kind of like, hey, we're nominating you. It's fine. We all believe in you. And so that's when Suo's like, hey, if you need a backup boo, I'm right here. Which, you know what? Someone commented a few episodes ago that they are a shipper of Narai and Suo. And in this episode, I do see the vision. I do see it. I like shipping Suo with Sakura, but Windbreaker has become a multi-shipper's paradise. You really can't go wrong. You can ship everybody with everybody. And I'm usually like an OTP, like single ship person. But in Windbreaker, I'm like, no, everything's good. No holds bar. Who do you want to ship with who? It's a fleet. And I see the vision. I see the vision of Suo and Narai. They're super cute together in this episode. But I like Suo being like, I'll back you up, right? Suo's like, which makes sense for Suo's character. Suo describes himself as the negotiator, which it was like, you could hear the sound effect of knuckles cracking as he was saying that. Suo does not want to be the person with the spotlight on him. He very much seems to be like I'll work from the shadows and get shit done and then come back and report back. And you're like, how'd that happen? And he's like, don't worry about it. That's how it happened. Like, he just has that vibe, right? Which is very fitting for Suo. It works for him. And Narai is like, I like that it gives Narai some responsibility. And plus Narai, it also showcases how those skills are very important in a group. You need to know who people are. You need to have intel. And Narai wants to fight. He wants to have a stake in Boferin. So this gives him that opportunity. Narai is giving me very, it's interesting. You would think that it would be Narai and Kasumi, but Narai actually kind of gives me, in a way, like Inamoto vibes, because he can kind of know who everybody is. Whereas Suo and Kasumi kind of seem like they're both like the behind the scenes placators, where they're like, here's your lollipop, here's this. And they kind of function in that regard, which is great. But yeah, so we had assumed, myself included, that Sakura and I had both assumed Inamoto was the captain. We assumed that. We were very wrong. Which is fine. But yeah, Sakura's like, what do you do at the top? I kind of love this episode because it gives Sakura the realization that he doesn't have to be Umamiya, right? Because Sakura in the last episode had kind of built up this idea that to be the top of something, you have to be this charismatic, like, I'm friends with everybody and I bring all the boys to the yard. Like, Umamiya's milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, which, damn right. And it's better than yours. But he has this, God, editing this. He has this idea that he is going to have to be like Umamiya to be at the top, which you do have to be like Umamiya, I feel, in a sense that people have to support you, but you don't have to be like Umamiya in the sense you have to be exactly like him, because nobody is like Umamiya. Just like nobody is like Sakura. Nobody is like Kaji. We're all our own individual people that bring our own individual skills to the table. And I'm watching Chihaya Furu at the same time as this series. And this series gives me very much like, in that series, Chihaya is the main character. And I'm not going to spoil anything about the series, but to say that she has to learn how other people compete to help her realize how she competes, right? And so that's kind of the same thing with Sakura. He has to realize how everybody else functions in these roles so that he can figure out how he's going to function in that role. And I like this episode a lot because Kaji is similar to Sakura in a lot of ways, and he's different from Umamiya in a lot of ways. And it kind of shows Sakura that, hey, you can be yourself, and that's what you need to be doing. People will follow you because you're you, not because you are imitating someone else, which is a great life lesson to have. People are going to like you for you, not that you are imitating someone else, right? I think it's also good that Sakura acknowledges that he only wanted to be at the top in the beginning of this series just for self-recognition, for his own self-worth, for his own sense of accomplishment, not for anybody else. And now that he's becoming part of Bofrin and part of this group, he's realizing, yeah, I need to have self-love, but also if you're going to be a leader, you have to be doing it for the sake of other people and not just yourself. Because if you're just doing it for the sake of yourself, and I'm not going to use Choji as an example because I don't think Choji is a good example of this, but I feel like at some point we're going to face a gang that is doing that, where the leader is just doing it for himself and nobody else, and it's toxic. I feel like we're going to encounter that at some point. We just don't know when. Because Choji wasn't like that. And I love the idea that Sakura kind of relates himself to Choji in this moment. And I was like, oh, I hadn't even thought about Sakura doing that. But he's like, am I just becoming the leader to stand out for my own self-recognition? And I would disagree. Choji did it just for that, because we, the audience, saw what Choji was thinking. But from an outsider perspective, you could definitely understand why Sakura would take that from that encounter the last few episodes. You could definitely see that. So I like that Sakura's been kind of self-aware. He's like, I don't know why I want to be at the top. And I think that's a very big separation from him and Choji. Choji wanted to be at the top because he thought it was going to make things fun and it was going to fill this empty, depressive void in his soul, which is not the case with Sakura. I don't think Sakura has that same depressive void that Choji did. So it's not the same situation at all. I love Kaji. I freaking love him. And I was so blown away by his character development in this episode. I did not think I was going to like him. I thought I was going to be like, oh, he looks like Inumaki from Jujutsu Kaisen. Oh, he's probably going to be a replica of that. He's going to be the replica. Every time you see the character with the headphones and they're kind of aloof and distant, kind of give off Kiryu vibes of, oh, I don't care, da-da-da-da-da. That's the vibe I thought I was going to get with Kaji. No, he's basically like if they were like, hey, you have a lot of energy and some anger. Here's a lollipop and some headphones to like stop you being overstimulated. Now we're good. That's kind of what it is. But I love that he runs out of the lollipop. Like the lollipop and the sugar, the little sugar fix. Watch out for your diabetes, son. But the sugar fix keeps him from like getting over emotional. And the fact that as soon as he runs out of the lollipop, he starts screaming. Why does it take so damn long to decide? It's just a grade captain, which you would say that because he was just thrown into that position, of course. You know, that makes sense later on. But I love that he's screaming, not because he's necessarily angry, but because he wants to be heard. And then you take off the headphones and realize that the music is so loud. Also, what are those headphones? You can't hear anything. What are those? I want those headphones. He's like, it's the same no matter who does it anyway, which is a very important thing to note. And I'm going to talk about this real briefly. Whenever Kaji says it doesn't matter who the grade captain is, it's the same job regardless. Doesn't matter who does it. I think that there is something really important in that because Sakura is placing a lot of stock in who's chosen as the grade captain. But as the others in the class kind of iterate later on, they're like, well, it doesn't matter. We're going to support you no matter what. No matter who's grade captain, we're going to support you. So it's going to be fine. If Narai was made grade captain, people would still support him. It's just Narai is not good at delegating. Narai is not really good. He's not confident enough to handle that position and he doesn't want it. Same with Sugi. Sugi could handle it. He'd be a fine grade captain. He just doesn't want it. Suo doesn't want it. He's the one that recommends Sakura in the first place. He clearly doesn't want the position. Sakura is able to accept the position, so it works out. Suguru could have taken it. Kiryu could have taken it. It reminds me a little bit of Drag Race, where in that series, they have team challenges and you have to pick a team leader or group leader. Now, on the one hand, in those challenges, the group leader is responsible. So if they all flop, it does come back on the group leader, and that's important. But whoever is the group leader really doesn't matter so much. It's just whoever wants to be the group leader and can be confident enough to take the position. That's what counts. No matter who is the group leader, the rest of your group members are going to have to flock around. So it does matter in a sense that your group leader needs to be somebody that everybody is cool with being the group leader. Because here's the thing, from watching Drag Race, I can tell you in that series, whenever they have group challenges and there's a group leader, if everybody agreed on the group leader, no matter if they're good or bad, the team rallies behind them and they pick up the slack for that person. And it usually works out pretty well, regardless. They may not win the challenge, but they're still in a good place. If the group leader is somebody that demands it, but the group doesn't like them, the cohesion in that group suffers a lot. So it's like, Sakura, just take the win, be the group leader, everybody's supporting you. That's what matters. If you're not great at the job, it's okay. Your team members are going to support you, right? And so I love Kasumi just comes up behind. He just comes up behind Kaji's. He's like, hurry up and decide. And he just takes the headphones off. And I love that, like, he's going to kill his eardrums. Don't his ears hurt? These people are making valid things, valid decisions. I will tell you all, if you are young, turn your sound down, because I did the same thing Kaji did in high school. I had an hour-long bus ride when I was a kid. Like, between the ages of 12 and 16, I had an hour-long bus ride in the morning, and I had to get on the bus at like 6:30 in the morning, which I'm not a great morning person anyway, and I'm like, so I'm a morning person by force, not by choice. But I would get on the bus and just sit there with my little Walkman, like clenching it because the road was so bumpy. I didn't want my CD to be scratched. And I would have my little Walkman clenched in my fist with my headphones on, as loud as it could be with my hoodie up. I was such like an emo little kid in middle school. And so, yeah, I relate completely. And now my hearing is suffering from it. So don't blow your eardrums out. But yeah, Kaji just being like, do it. They made you captain. I was in the same boat as you. Just do it. I love it. He should be a spokesperson for Nike. He's like, it looked like these guys were relying on you, but you were so wishy-washy. I love they're all like, you weren't listening to anything that was going on. And then this part here, he's like, nobody is expecting a perfect performance from the beginning, which Kaji would know because he was in the exact same boat. And he's like, you'll be fine. You have people that rely on you, but you also can rely on others. It's a group effort no matter what. And they're like, okay, done deal. I like these like Ralph Bakshi-esque cats that are in the background of the graffiti that are like cheering Sakura on. That's really, really funny. And Sakura just looks so disdained. He's like, but why? And then he's like, our team captain's second year is him. Yep. And Sakura's like, he's the grade captain. And then we have our intro. So let's skip that, even though I love the intro so much. So they all decide that Sakura is going to be the captain. This moment right here, if you look at the screenshot here, like all the classmates are cheering and Kiryu's hooping and hollering and Tagura's like, yeah. But it's this moment here where Suo and Narai just have this little look to each other like, well, that worked out. That was the moment that I thought to myself during the reaction. I was like, I see the vision of Suo and Narai. I see the vision right there. There you go. That was nice. It's nice. So yeah, Inamoto and Kasumi are just the vice captains. And Sakura's like, how do you know my name? His little face where he's like, but how do you know me? And it's like, bitch, you've been making waves ever since you got here. What do you mean, how do you know me? Are you freaking kidding? And then Kaji just goes back to being like, don't care, listen to music. It's all good. I also like the fact that Sakura is super bashful and super shy because he doesn't know how to interact with people. I think the big difference is, because you would think on the surface, and I did as well, that Kaji and Sakura are very similar, but how they handle their kind of social awkwardness is done in completely different ways. Like, Kaji seems kind of socially awkward and kind of like he doesn't really want to interact with people. Very cat-coded, like Sakura. But Kaji like puts on his headphones, he blocks people out, he gets on his phone, he's just like, but he also gives me vibes of, I watched a movie earlier in 2025 in December called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. Super cute movie. It's on my channel, go check it out. But there's the fox character in that movie who is just kind of like acknowledges himself as being socially awkward. And Kaji kind of reminds me of that too. Kaji does not need to interact with people, but he likes being in the same space. He's very cat-coded. He wants to be in the room with you, but he's not like clinging to you, right? Sakura, is cat-coded in the sense that he's a stray cat and he wants to appear like he's feral, but in all reality, he wants all the head pats. He wants to be cuddled and coddled. He just doesn't know how to express that in a way that works, right? So I kind of love it. But anyway, we have Kiryu and Sugera being like, we're cool with you being in charge. It's fine. Everybody's like, lighten up. It's all right. And I just love that Suo very much sees that Sakura likes the attention. He just doesn't know how to process it. And he's like, it'll be all right, buddy. We'll help you through everything. It's okay. I love it. I think that Suo appreciates how genuine Sakura is in his emotion. Also, this panel of Sugi asleep is possibly the cutest panel of him in the history of the series so far. That little sleepy face is so cute. It's so cute. I absolutely love it. Like, more head pats for Sugi as well, right? So yeah, and then in true historian party planner fashion, Narai's like, can I create a group chat? And everybody's like, let's do it. Freaking love it. Also, is that Anzai in the corner there raising his fist? Is that Anzai in the corner? Maybe this is the day before he gets beat up. I have a feeling that Anzai getting beat up and being kind of insecure about it, that's going to be a plot point. I don't know if it's going to happen next episode and be the revolving issue around next episode. I kind of want it to be because that'd be a nice way to round out. Here's the thing. I immediately thought, well, we'll talk about Anzai here in a second, which I'm just thinking of Anzai Sensei from Slam Dunk. But we'll talk about that in a hot second. I think it's going to be a plot point for next week. But yeah, so they all go out. Also, Narai's phone case being the popcorn is so cute, where he's just like, it fits Narai so much. He's like, I'm just here eating the popcorn, watching it all go down. Great audience surrogate. Love it. And so I was like, that's so great that you're making friends. And he's like, this class is full of good guys. And Inamoto's like, you're going to do a good job. I like this guy with the ponytail. He looks really great. Who would be this man? Lots of man bun men. Eren Yeager would fit right in. Maybe not. But yeah. And so Sakura asks the age-old question, I'm supposed to lead them. What am I supposed to do? And honestly, that is kind of up in the air, and that's not a bad thing. And he's like, I don't have anything I want to do. And that's okay. I feel like what Kaji tells him is like, it's not, you shouldn't have to have an agenda for everything. It's okay to be there and be a support and figure it out as you go, because it may be a situational thing where you don't know what you need to do until it happens. And then you figure out what you have to do in that moment. That's okay. You don't have to have, like Umamiya, an entire thesis planned out or a game plan outlined, in a 5-year plan in place. You don't have to be like Umamiya. Not everyone is built like Umamiya. Not everyone was created in a factory like Umamiya. You don't have to be that way. It's okay. So they go out on the town, and I like that Narai's like, you don't have to glare at Kaji, and Sakura's like, look, I want to figure out this guy. So they're like, Kaji was quick to get into fights until he got into middle school, and I heard he was unstoppable. So yeah, we see him there. Of course, a lot of these kids, like Kiryu and Kaji both, had the dark hair and then they dyed it, a lighter shade. I kind of like the idea that their hair was like black and then they dyed it to like a muted or a pastel or a lighter shade, showing them like stretching out their layers. But again, like Sakura, they came from a rough environment and a rough mentality and eased up once they got to Bofurin. We don't know what'll trigger him. And then Kasumi's like, look, the solution is just give him a lollipop and it'll solve a lot of problems. When they said Risa-chan was missing again, and whenever Kaji said, I told you to watch her well, at that point I was like, is this a person or is this an animal? I thought it was a cat or a dog. Because normally you'd be like, wouldn't she go to the police for a missing child first? Whereas Bofurin handles more manageable things that you don't need the police for, like finding lost pets or, fixing up or chasing away gang members, which you'd think the police would handle it. But so I wondered if it was an animal too. And the moment she said a pink ribbon, I was like, oh, it's a cat. Has to be a cat, because cats have ribbons. And you'd think if she was talking about a girl, she would say, oh, well, my daughter, she's wearing my granddaughter, she's wearing a pink frilly dress and has a big bow in her hair and like whatever. The fact she didn't say hair or any physical feature, I'm like, oh, it's a cat. And so Kaji's like, we'll do something about it. And she's like, oh, well, thank you. And so I got it. Head back home, and just in case she shows up there. So then Kaji's like, okay, Kasumi, you know what to do. And I kind of love it. In a sense, Kasumi, I know I talked about Mirai being similar to Inamoto, but Kasumi kind of has a vibe like Mirai too, where Kasumi has the group chat and he's like, okay, I'll tell everybody we're on the lookout for the cat. And Kaji's like, great, handle that. We'll go get settled. I like that Kaji just has this air of being able to delegate and just be this strong presence that everyone else needs to feel. And then we get that damn sweet coat wearing scene again, where Umemiya gives off the same vibe. Even if he doesn't have an exact plan, he exudes that, like, just big leader energy, right? Like, he's like, I'll go take care of it. Also, love the little phone case that Kasumi has. And Nirai's like, damn, he's quick. I need to catch up. I need to be able to be quick like him. So then we have a group chat. He's like, oh! It says, Suo, we'll make sure to find her, says our grade captain. So Suo went ahead and was like, hey, just so y'all know, Sakura says we got this. We're all good. Suo, you're devious. I love that he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, you know, everybody's going to be hyped up by this. It's totally fine. He's like, but if nobody reacts, it would be embarrassing. Well, we don't have to worry about that because we have Kurita says, heck yeah. Takanashi says, of course. And Kurita, you got it. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. I love that Kiryu has the, yeah, that's so freaking cute. See, everybody's motivated. It's all good. Love that. You all better get used to Sakura's face and ears being red. This panel's really great. This is Sakura's dilemma on the first day as captain, personified, embodied in this screenshot. It's so freaking good. So yes, they go out to find the cat. And, what? Sakura just casually doing parkour, casually scaling a building like freaking Spider-Man. Sir. And I like Suo's like, okay. Suo's like, man, Sakura's limber. Noted. Our boy, obligatory ab shots all around as well. He's like, damn you, cat. I love he's just so fearless. It's great. And I like that Kaji kind of gets a little bit inspired by Sakura's fearlessness. He's like, okay, all right, you may... The fact that Sakura is different in Kaji in that he takes... Well, both of them take initiative just in very different ways. Kaji's initiative is, I'm just going to be this embodiment of strength and you all know what to do. And Sakura's like, I'm going to leap in head first and you all will follow my lead. Like, it's a different way of embodying that energy, right? But Kaji, it's like game recognizing game. Kaji recognizes that Sakura is kind of doing the same thing he is, and not to be shown up. I also just loved all the flips and everything that Sakura was doing. This moment here, I kept thinking of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where he's like going through people's yards and he stops. He's like, Ferris Bueller, how you doing? I was waiting for, if it was Umemiya instead of Sakura, Umemiya would have been like, Umemiya, nice to meet you. Yeah. And then would have ran back on. So cute. But yeah. And then right whenever Risa-chan leaps over the bridge, that is when Kaji steps in and is like, I'll take it from here. I'm delivering the fan service for this episode. Thank you very much. So yeah. So he's like, Kasumi, you guys help Kaji get back. We'll get the cat and everything will be fine. So yeah. And he's like, oh, we didn't catch her. It was them. Damn. Y'all, these Bofrin people are ripped. These Bofrin men are ripped. Like, just Kaji sitting over there with his little towel and his abs out, you know. And she's like, thank you, Risa-chan's back. And Lovey's like, don't let this happen again. I like that Kaji's very stern, but he doesn't yell. He's just like, keep a hold of her. And you can tell it's coming from a place of concern and care because of what he says next. He's like, don't let this happen again. Something bad could have happened. He's like, what if she drowned? What if she was hit by a car? What if this happened? He's like, I know this cat means a lot to you. Take freaking care of her and just do it. Like, I like it. She's like, oh yeah, I'll be more careful next time. Mm-hmm. So they give him like the sweet treats, which is great. And Sakura takes note that Umemiya was able to be at the top because everyone carried me up. Mm-hmm. Everyone believed in me. and because people could relate to what I wanted to do and helped me out. And for Umamiya, that works great. They get Umamiya's MO. They're supportive of it. It's great. Sakura's like, well, what if me and Kaji, we don't exactly know what we want to do? How are they supposed to support us if we don't have an agenda like you do, Umamiya? And that's when he asks Kaji, he's like, what do you want to do? And I liked it immediately. Immediately, Kaji's like little brightness in his eyes fades. He's like, are you challenging me, bitch? You challenging me, stray cat? He's like, what are you talking about? What I want to do? He's like, well, you became grade captain because there's something you wanted to do, right? And he's like, what is it? Sakura's like, I need to know. I need some advice. And Kaji's just like, I like Kaji's like, well, I don't really have an agenda. He's like, I don't have anything. What the hell are you talking about? I like that whereas Sakura blushes and gets all red-faced, Kaji's eyes get like really steely. And that's their reaction to being challenged. He's like, I didn't want to be grade captain anyway. He's like, they made me. He's like, they asked me to do it. Which I like that because, yeah, Kasumi and Inamoto both saw something in him that they wanted to get brought out for the group, right? He's like, take care of the rest. And then in this moment, he's like, well, in that case, then there's no meaning for you to be doing this, right? That's not what you say to Kaji. He's like, then you're not doing this for any reason, are you? And Kaji got so pissed and stood up. And that's when he's like, I'm ditching the coat and you're going to see, I'm ditching the towel. You're going to see these abs in full spectacle. I feel like, was Kaji... This is the shipper part of me. Let the shipper part of me humor for just a hot second. Was Kaji Sakura's sexual awakening? Because Sakura can't get them abs and that backside out of his mind. Was this... I'm not saying that Sakura and Kaji are a ship. I don't ship them at all. But I feel like maybe Kaji was like Sakura's moment of awakening here. I also love that Kaji's like, what do you mean there's no point in me being here? Are you threatening my position here? That was very much a... Are you getting in my territory and saying I don't belong? Because that's the thing. Both Sakura and Kaji, they're in Bofrin because they're places for them to belong. And they see that sense of belonging. And in this moment, Kaji's like, are you threatening my sense of belonging here by saying I'm not doing enough? Like, I'm like, nope. I feel like Sakura, if you give it a year, would respond the same way that he did here. And he's like, no. And then he pulls out the sucker. I like that he pulls out the sucker because he's like, I could fight you, but this is keeping me from fighting you. Like it's the placebo. Like Kasumi has gotten him on a placebo of, here's the sucker, here's the candy. And I like that his response at that moment, as we see like the golden leaves flowing behind him, is he's like, I can't make candy even if I run out. That is such a cool phrase because every time he gets mad, he gets the candy to help calm him down. But he doesn't know how to make the candy himself. And that's such a cool way to phrase that he's like, I am calm being around Bofrin, being in this group, having this sense of belonging gives me a place of self-worth and gives me a place of value. If I don't have this place, if I don't have this safe space, I don't know how to create the self-worth for myself. And it sounds crazy and it sounds like it makes Kaji feel codependent, but the reality is he's like, I just don't know how to recreate this safe space for myself without them. And I don't want to do that. And I don't want to have that's my fear. Kaji's like, my fear is not having this space because I don't know how to create the candy if I run out. And I think it's, most of the times we would view that as codependent and a bad thing, but I don't think that's the case. And I think Sakura can he's like, what? He's like, I'm not good at rounding guys up like Inamoto, and I'm not good at communicating well like Kasumi. So again, like, Kasumi is kind of like Suo and Narai combined. Inamoto is kind of like Suo and Narai combined in a weird way. It's interesting. But he's like, I can't do these things these others can do. So I can't be a leader without them. They're necessary to help me have this place here. And he's like, so for him, he's like, I'm always relying on them. And even then, they still rely on me with the way that I am. And then he steps into the sunlight, and in the sunlight and the gleaming golden leaves, he's like, I have to live up to them. I do what I can to live up to them. I freaking love this shot of his backside. That might be the thumbnail. It's not a very compelling thumbnail, but it might be. I'm like, oh, I just love it. I love he's like, I do what I can. The dependable one. The episode's called The Dependable One. And so I love that for Kaji, he establishes that being a leader isn't just about you being the one they rely on. You also have to know your faults and where your weaknesses are and find people to surround yourself with that lift you up just as you lift them up. And that's such a good lesson because Sakura has in his mind that Umemiya does it all and that Umemiya, doesn't have to rely upon anybody, but that's not exactly true. I love that Inamoto's like, put some clothes on. And he's like, to live up to them. Maybe that's what he wants to do. And Sakura's like, is that my deal? Do I want to live up to people? He's like, no. He's like, wait, to begin with, I love that the sun comes out and the clouds gather and then Narai and Suo are like, hey, we got things for you. That image of Narai is so precious where he's like, we got food for you. And Suo's like, look, adorable. Adorable. It's like when you're at home and a couple comes to greet you and you're like, oh, wasn't expecting you. Love it. Yep. The Narai and Suo ship. I see it this episode. I see the vision. But yeah, I like in that moment, Sakura is kind of like, well, I don't know if I'm exactly wanting what Kaji wants. So again, Sakura is having to reevaluate like what's his MO, what's his meaning, what does this mean to him? He's constantly having to reevaluate it, which is great. I love it. So what was the food that they got there? It's dango. Yes, really tasty. Super cute. And yeah, they're like, so the reason, I like that Sakura's like, so the reason you nominated me for captain is because you guys are counting on me? And the two of them are like, duh. It's super cute. I love it. It's so sweet. Honestly, that was only like 14 minutes the episode. So I was like, what else are we getting this episode? And what we get is Tachibana teaching Sakura a lesson about knowing people and understanding them, and that will make you a better person. And so I like when Sakura's asked why he couldn't sleep, and he's like, well, I can't tell her. I was like, oh, because you were having a sexual encounter with Kaji. He's like, I can't tell her that morning came while I was thinking about what I could do. So basically, he sat up all night thinking of Kaji's backside and how he can make himself a better person. Y'all know I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm making a ship out of a landmass. It's fine. We do that constantly here. But yeah, so Tachibana's like, oh, she of course knew that he became captain because, I mean, like, how would she not know? She like talks to Umemiya every day, I'm sure. Also, I do love that she has the plants on the windowsill. I know it's a cafe, so you would expect it to be decorated as such, but it's a nice connection. It's a nice connection from her to Umemiya because, every time they're together on screen, she dodges Umemiya and they are very sibling coded. But I like that despite them being sibling coded and her like not giving into his shenanigans, she does respect Umemiya and there's a little trace of them being connected here. And he's like, well, I don't know if anything good will happen if a grade captain doesn't know what to do. And he's like, well, this has nothing to do with you. And she's like, oh, does it? She's like, me who's giving you free food. I'm surprised she didn't say that. She'd be like, well, I am giving you a free breakfast. She's like, do you know everybody in your class and their faces? She's like, oh, I totally thought, remembering people's names is something you can do. I like that. And properly calling them by name to acknowledge them, to let them know that you care about them, to let them know that you're standing up for them. She's like, the very least you can do, if you're not sure, is give people around you proper respect. And that's a place to start. It's a sign of determination that you're taking a proper look at them. I love that. She's like, let them know that you value them as a person. And of course, in the windowsill behind Sakura, as this enlightening revelation happens, there's like a little cactus. I feel like the cactus is a great way to describe Sakura. He's kind of prickly, but he also is super cute. And he's like, have I called anybody by their name? And she's like, well, you've never called me by my name. I cannot imagine Sakura saying Kotoha-chan. I can't imagine. He feels like I can't imagine Sakura saying Kun or Chan. He seems like a San or first name basis person. That's what he feels like. He feels like a San, like a Umemiya-san or a Hiragi-san, or he feels like a Suo and Narai, like a first name basis or a San person. We're not doing Chans. We're not doing Kuns. We're not doing anything cutesy. That doesn't seem like Sakura. I feel like he'd say Tachibana-san, honestly. And then he grabs a sandwich and he goes. And of course, Tachibana makes the very astute note that he probably is afraid of getting close relationships with people developed. And she's like, keep at it, Sakura. Super cute. So Narai tries to explain who everybody is. I'm with Sakura. Too many names. Can't relate. Can't remember them all. But he memorized the entire roster of everybody at the school, which is insane. Narai is a monster in his own right. I love that Kiryu's like, what's my name? I love Sugera and Kiryu are like, what about us? Do you remember us? Love it. So that's when we notice Anzai. Now, here's my thing. Anzai gets noticed and they make a note that he seems hurt. And Sakura sees him and Anzai leaves the room, right? So here's my prediction. I want something to happen. There needs to be something happen next week for the season finale we can't just trust and believe. If we spent the entire episode revealing everything about the Four Kings, I would be sitting down ready for it, popcorn ready to take notes. But I don't think we're going to do that. I think the first part of the episode is going to briefly give a name and a face to the Four Kings because we need to know who they are because that's going to probably be relevant in season 2. Probably. But I don't think we're going to focus on that. I think they're going to tease us with who the Four Kings are and then leave us with that knowledge to get us hyped up for season 2. I think that we're going to spend next episode focusing on Anzai-san. We need to because I don't want to forget about him. And I feel like they didn't want the audience to forget about him between season 1 and season 2. So I feel like next week's episode is going to be focusing on Anzai. It will be a great opportunity for Sakura to not only recognize Anzai as a person, but to also flex his skill as a leader with caring about that person and wanting to help them. Because I think at Sakura's core, I feel like Sakura never was given the opportunity to have a close relationship. So he's using this time now to develop those close relationships with his fellow Bofrin. I feel like that's going to happen. And it'll be a chance for Sakura to prove why he's been chosen as captain and what he's capable of. And I feel like whoever beat up Anzai, it's an opportunity for us to get a sneak peek at a new territory or gang that we're possibly going to interact with in the next season. Just saying, we could be setting some stuff up. That's what I would do if I had this opportunity. So they asked for all of the first and second year grade captains and secondaries up to the roof. I think it's important to note that this is class 1-1, but there are multiple first year classes, so multiple first year captains. Also, Umemiya just needs to be kicked out of the broadcast room. Does not need to be invited. So yeah, everybody's gathered. There are quite a few. So we see, it looks like it's split in 2. So it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4. Yeah, so there's 4 second year groups. And there are 1, 2, 3 plus Sakura and the others. There's 4 first year groups. So yeah, we basically have 12 second year captain and secondaries and 12 first year captains and secondaries. And the ones we can make out the most are the ones with Kaji that we know, right? Kaji, Kasumi, and Inamoto. I love that Sugi is in charge of watering the plants for Umemiya. Of course Sugi would volunteer himself. Also, when he just sits there and he just flicks the water on the plants. So cute. I love it. I love it to pieces. So yeah, so they all gather over here. It's time for each of the officers to meet up. And Sakura's like, I don't want to have to remember all these people's names. And Narai's like, don't worry, I got us covered. Even Suo hadn't talked to everybody. He's like, I just kind of know who they are. It's super cute. I love it. And I love that Narai is offering something to help him get to the top. And Suo is like, that's pretty impressive. Like, again, shipper fodder. Here for it. Here for it. So then Suo's like, can I be the negotiator? And I love the reactions. I love Sakura and Narai being like, negotiator, you mean you're going to break their legs and then ask questions later, right? I love that. That's so freaking precious. And he's like, what, who, me? He's like, these guys are all really prepared. They know what they can do and they can act on it. He's like, well, then I'll leave that up to you since you know what you're doing, Narai. Suo. That's so cute. And they're both like, he called us on a first name basis. How adorable. And Suo's like, really? Absolutely. I love it. And he's like, well, of course I remember your names. I love Suo. Like, look, he remembered our names. So then we have, Umi being like, sorry, I'm late. Oh my God. Okay. So we have the four kings and their secondaries, which we're going to talk about this here in a hot second. I love Kasumi yanks the headphones off of Kaji being like, it's time to pay attention. The king and the kings and their leader have shown up. Freaking love it. So yeah. And he's like, those people aren't grade captains. They are the four kings. Bitch, the heeled shoes and the long coat. Oh, also, when did Maki Zenin join Bofurin? And then the mask. So yeah, okay. Let's break this image down. I want to sing Cake's song. I want a girl with a long skirt, with a long coat and with a short skirt and a long jacket. That song needs to be their anthem. I need that Cake song to be their anthem. I want a girl with a short skirt and a long jacket. That's their anthem right here. So, okay, let's break this down. We have Hiragi there, and Hiragi has their two vice secondaries, the Mohawk guy, which as soon as I saw the Mohawk guy in the first couple episodes, I was like, you're clearly someone we need to remember because you have a standout feature. Although the buzz cut guy looks like Tanaka. Whatever. Then we have Short King whose jacket is too long and they don't have a tailor to alter it, so they're just looking like this. Getting mouse vibes. Love that. They have the gas mask, and then behind them they have their entourage, their dance posse, which is guy with the do-rag and the bandana, and then also Sugi's alter ego from the future. It's like Lovecraft with facial hair. Love it. Then we have Umemiya has no secondaries. The secondaries are the four kings. That's how that works. Then we have this combination that looks like if Maki Zenin and Ushida from Bleach combined with Midorima from Kuroko's Basketball, if those three merged together to form one individual, that is this person. Very rigid, so very strict, almost military-like, so I'm curious about that. And then their secondaries are, again, to go with the military vibe, there is the guy that looks like Hiragi with doused hair in camo, and then if Narai and Suo had a love child. That's them in the background there. Then we have my queen. Obsessed. Already obsessed. Dim legs. The legs of the season. The red tipped hair. Oh my God. I'm in love. I'm in love with them already. And their secondaries are the twins. The twins who look back there, which I'm also one has very cursive writing on their shirt. The other one has something that says backstage, come on stage or something. Obsessed. I want to know more about them on the end. I want to know more about them. They are my favorite so far. I love them so much. Damn, I wish I had them legs. We appreciate a tall queen, and I'm so excited. Oh, Femme Queen! Let's go! I love it. The four kings of Fahrenheit and their secondaries. Secondaries, yes. And then episode 12 is the dependable one. I'm so ready, y'all. I'm so ready for next week already. I'm so excited. This is such a good lineup. Y'all. Can't wait. Cannot wait for all of this. This is amazing. So, what a great episode. I've talked for nearly an hour about it. There is so much to go through with this episode, and I am so excited to hear your thoughts down below about Kaji. Kaji won me over. Which is so funny because I did not anticipate that at all. I was like, oh, Kaji, he's just gonna be the secondary character. I'm not gonna really get into him at all. Your girl is very, very into Kaji. So, yes, indeed. So, yeah. With that being said, I am super excited to hear your thoughts down below about this episode. It's the season finale next week. I'm going to be updating that bingo card, getting it ready, but I'm so excited to meet the four kings, to talk about it with you all. I cannot wait. So, in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yes, I'll be back very soon with episode 13 of Windbreaker. And I'll see you then. Bye.